Hello, this is the Green Corn Rebellion Show. I'm Gregory Harden II, and today I'm here with Jay Bridwell, who's a candidate for Oklahoma County Commissioner in the 3rd District. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well.
It's great. First question I have here is where are you from and where did you grow up?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Stop what you're doing. Okay. If you like this video and you like the other content on my channel, please hit the like button on this video. Also, go hit subscribe, like right now. And also, when you hit subscribe, click the bell so you can get notifications whenever I put out a new video. So, thanks. Alright, enjoy the rest of the video.
So I'm originally from Lawton, Oklahoma, southwest part of Oklahoma. There was always a battle growing up: who was bigger, Enid or Lawton, as the third largest. And I think we only tended to be the largest because of Fort Sill. But I was born and raised there. Went to high school there. Went to college. Eventually, I went to the Oklahoma State University before I joined the military. And then joining the Air Force took me away for 24 years, and then came back in 2013 and found a job here right after I retired from the Air Force.
Cool. So what made you join the Air Force? And also tell me a little bit about what you did in the Air Force and what you've done since you've retired from the Air Force.
So the reason I joined the Air Force was because I guess ever since middle school, I had uncles who were in the Air Force and traveled all over the world. It just seemed really cool to be in the Air Force, and I knew at some point I wanted to join the Air Force, and realized that while I was going to school, I was kind of a fish out of water. There was just um, you go to Oklahoma State and you're a small fish in a big pond, and I wasn't very successful. But I just knew that at some point I wanted to get out of Lawton. Lots kind of it wasn't very, to me it was very boring. I mean, we all say that growing up in high school, right? We're bored of where we're living, and
Yeah.
so you kind of look for something that got a little more meaning, kind of jumpstart your life a little bit. What's funny about it was my parents, because of Fort Sill, they wanted me to join the Army. And because at that time you could serve 2 years and then come back out, and everything would be fine. But my fear was I would end up living right in law. So I joined the Air Force in 1989, trying to, every kid's dream to see the world and get your education. So told my mom, I'll do my 4 years, I'll get out and I'll finish college. Famous last words, right? You, you think, okay, well, I'll just do my little stint. And I was very fortunate to spend 24 years doing a variety of things. Um, I started off as a mental health technician, working outpatient mental health clinic. Then I worked on an inpatient alcohol rehab unit. Left there, went to Turkey, worked with families who had special needs, so trying to navigate resources for individuals or family members, whether it be educational or physical health needs, in an overseas location. Over time, I became an instructor. I worked at the military prison at Fort Leavenworth, 5.5 years. They did let me out on good behavior. I do have my certificate of release to go on to do different things. So I ended up going to Guam and getting certified as a drug and alcohol counselor. Then I went to Florida, Then I worked at Air Staff in Washington, D.C., so seeing some of how a lot of policy making is really ran. And then I ended up retiring out of North Carolina. My wife and I went to junior high and high school together, so we started dating after our 20-year high school reunion of all things. And I knew I wasn't getting any younger, and I knew that it just, one of those situations where we were so the same in a lot of ways, just growing up in Lawton and lots of different things. But we ended up getting married, and I have an almost 13-year-old son. So I think the opportunities that I had while I was in the Air Force kind of really shaped me and my ideas of change and social change, as well as my time after I retired. I ended up getting a job at North Care, which is a community mental health agency in Oklahoma City. So my role there was to go into the Oklahoma County Jail on a pretty frequent basis to navigate what's called the Ohio Risk Assessment, which we're finding out now there's some data that is not. There were some pieces and parts that are just not validated for individuals that are persons of color. So that part of that was just finding a lot of that out over the last couple of years, even though I was able to kind of navigate that. And the goal was to really divert people from going to jail and prison. So have them kind of diverted to some programs. As time went on, I was involved in some criminal justice reform, task force, veteran task force on suicide prevention, in prison reentry programs for those with severe mental illness, and then just overseeing a pre-trial program as a contract between North Care and the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office, where we try to navigate mental health treatment, case management, while also kind of overseeing some of the requirements that they need to do in pre-trial program. So I was successful at that, and then left there and became the director of support services at the Homeless Alliance. So I oversee 4 different housing programs, a 20-room apartment complex on the campus of the Homeless Alliance, and this is all downtown Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. So various housing programs help navigate folks into housing that have significant barriers to getting housing and in any other kind of fashion, mental health, substance abuse, low income, sometimes legal, having a felony on their record, or even have to register as a sex offender. So as a program, multiple different types of programs, our role is to do housing first. So get them into housing and then work on all of those other barriers while they're in housing. Okay. So that was
what were you about to say?
I said that was a mouthful.
Yeah, but it's good stuff.
Episodes of the Green Corn Rebellion Show were brought to you by Addie's Sugar Shack, located at 1228 North Interstate Drive in Norman, Oklahoma. Norman's new shaved ice concept. They feature 45 flavor options plus unique snacks. They love the vibe. It's worth the drive.
So what made you want to run for the county commissioner seat?
So, like I said, I've been away from Oklahoma for 24 years. And when I left, the majority of Oklahoma was primarily Democrat. And I came back, and now it's primarily Republican. I saw numerous issues of us being in the bottom of a lot of areas: mental health funding, incarceration rates, a lot of social issues that just made us really look. You know, they want to be a top 10 state. Unfortunately, we're a bottom 10 state in a lot of
Yeah.
areas. So looking at the Oklahoma County Commissioners race, I mean, there just was a lot to take that I felt like um, just was leading us down the wrong road. And I felt like that I had, with my various experience, had a lot to offer. I feel like I have some experience in navigating tough conversations and tough, really complicated um, areas of solving. So that's kind of where I've landed on that.
Episodes of the Green Corn Rebellion Show are sponsored by Oklahoma Progress Now. Oklahoma Progress Now is a 501c4 organization focused on building progressive power in Oklahoma. Their primary efforts are on developing progressive content for a 21st century audience, coalition, and capacity building across progressive organizations and causes, and working to see elected leaders who are more responsive to their constituents and the needs of the many. Areas of focus include progressive messaging and communications, coalition building and resource sharing, and focused progressive policy goals. You can check out their Twitch live streams, and they go live on Facebook at noon, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Please support this organization. It's a really great organization. It's just getting started here in Oklahoma. Thank you. Now enjoy the rest of the video.
On your website, you mention that you're wanting to deal with homelessness in Oklahoma County. What all are you wanting to do to deal with homelessness in Oklahoma County?
Well, I think part of it is navigating those collaborative resources under the. You look at various partnerships that Oklahoma County already has, like they have partnership with Team. So looking at ways to partner with the Oklahoma County City Health Department, Oklahoma City County Health Department. It's always a tongue twister. To partner on navigating issues under the various guises of navigating them towards housing and then taking care of some of those other basic needs that would be helpful. I think the other piece of that is we've got one of the other things that I kind of also mentioned is the idea of expanding broadband, being able to navigate those broadband capabilities for individuals, not only in the metropolitan area, but also in the rural capacity as well. I think expanding that ability and capability to assist us with gaining knowledge, gaining education, gaining lots of opportunities to find, because we're all on our phones, right? We're all on our devices of some sort. Individual, even folks that are navigating homelessness on the streets, there's resources to be able to get a phone with some capability of being able to kind of find some of those resources, connecting and bridging those resources.
Okay. And on your website, you also said that mental health is a priority. Could you talk about what you'd like to do in order to improve and expand mental health services in Oklahoma County, and also talk about the importance of improving mental health services?
So I guess it's kind of the same idea is really expanding that partnership within the Oklahoma City County Health Department in social services and being able to get treatment. There are multiple different community mental health agencies in Oklahoma County that are operating through the Department of Mental Health, and then some private funding. So part of that is how do we navigate that? So instead of folks going to the jail, which is unfortunately we've either joking or serious, we've deemed the Oklahoma County Jail as the largest mental health facility in Oklahoma. We've got to change that paradigm. We've got to figure out how to leverage MAP 4 that will help navigate with crisis centers and other facilities in terms of helping folks get into mental health treatment versus sending them to the county jail.
All right. And you also say that infrastructure is a priority for you. Could you talk about what all you'd like to see happen with infrastructure while you're in office?
Sure. I mean, you can't talk about county commissioner without talking about bridges and roads, right? That's the core message that you look on any website, Google, anywhere, and talk about county commissioner. We talk about bridges and roads. There are a lot of unincorporated lands that are sorely in need of repair. The challenge with that is really kind of navigating and leveraging the American Rescue Plan to help offset some of those costs. You look at, I forgot the figure, but it's like $1.6 billion coming in for various. That number could be higher, and I apologize if I got the number wrong. But leveraging that funding to help kind of offset the challenge that the Department of Transportation, both in Oklahoma and the U.S. Department of Transportation, that money comes down and it gets less and less, and then we have to figure out how to make that pie of transportation go out so far. So hopefully that with the American Rescue Plans, we can leverage some of that, not only in transportation, but in, as I said, looking at expanding broadband in a particular way. I think the other aspect of that is that if you look at the map of District 3, it's, there's a lot of yellow area that's unincorporated. There's lots of areas that are folks that are living in the north part of Oklahoma County in, you'd say North Oklahoma City. There's a real disconnect in terms of mass transportation, the ability to use trails and bike lanes and things like that. So really kind of expanding some of that capability from, Oklahoma City proper to out in the Northland. I couldn't hear you.
Last question I have here is, what kind of music do you listen to?
So most of the music I listen to is a lot of old 60s and 70s R&B and jazz. So you think, a lot of Otis Redding, a lot of Marvin Gaye, a lot of Charlie Parker and Billie Holiday. The real great blues and jazz that just, stirs the soul to help me reflect on, what's really kind of important, what matters. You look at Sam Cooke and you look at really, I was born in 68. So talk about, really great R&B music. Ray Charles, you can talk Aretha Franklin. That music really kind of is what I will typically pull up on Spotify or Amazon Music or whatever. And then I like a lot of the 60s and 70s. Now, unfortunately, I grew up in the 80s, so it's really weird rock season, big hair band, that kind of stuff. And that kind of just brings back some great memories. But if my go-to is a lot of the R&B and jazz stuff, even some Dave Paz and Dave Brubeck that I like to listen to as well.
Cool. On your website I saw it said 80s rock, and I was wanting to know, which 80s rock bands do you like?
Well, what's funny is that, there were so many. I mean, you look at, like, there was Poison, and there was White Snake, and Def Leppard's kind of weird. It's like late 70s, early 80s, so there's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
It, what was funny is that you had like White Snake, White Lion, White. There's like,
Yeah.
just back to that day, like, why they gotta be white something?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like a lot of rock and metal music, but not a lot of 80s stuff. Like most like if like the oldest I listen to on like a regular basis is mm, like Faith No More and like Living Color. Like I like some old Metallica from like way back then, but like I only like a handful of Metallica songs from the 80s. I prefer 90s Metallica, Black Album Metallica, and Load and Reload, but but I like Master of Puppets and stuff like that. But
Well,
yeah,
what's
for say what?
crazy about that is, you talk about things like AC/DC, and you talk about bands like, um, even before that, you look at Black Sabbath, and you look at Ozzy Osbourne when he was doing his own thing, and
Yeah,
it's amazing how that kind of evolved, into the hair bands of the 80s, which then evolved into grunge, right? So you look at
yeah.
Nirvana, look at all of those groups as well.
And then you ended up getting Pantera, and then what was that? White Zombie, and then what else is there? And then like the stuff I mostly listen to is like Korn and Limp Bizkit and Deftones and Linkin Park. That's my era, like the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, that kind of stuff. That's like my favorite stuff. But yeah.
So lots of stuff that, like at Rocklahoma,
Hmm.
I was for a couple of years, and it's just amazing how all of that just kind of is all in such a large venue of all of that.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Where can we find you on social media, and what is your campaign website?
So I'll start with the campaign website. It's real easy. jbridwell.com. That's it. That's me. No nonsense. And then on Twitter, I'm at J4OK.
All right.
And Facebook, it's pretty much the same thing. It's at J4OK. If you look up Jay Bridwell for Oklahoma County Commissioner, you'll find it.
All right. Thanks, man.
You're quite welcome. How's it going on your campaign?